Hi, so I'm just going to do a quick video showing you how to do a paint tutorial for these new 3D shamrocks. So I'm doing them in different shades. I'm using teal and this green color. It's like a nice sage green and a teal. And then I'm blending the colors as they're still wet. So I went ahead and just did this one as an example. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab another one. So I'm going to pull this one aside, and I'm going to start with the sage green color. So any sage green will work. So I'm just going to go ahead and just dab it on pretty generously. And I'm just going to go ahead, dab, dab, dab. And you want to be kind of generous because you want it to stay wet, because you're going to come around with the other color afterwards. And then you're going to blend those colors out. So I'm working pretty fast because I want those colors, I want that paint to stay wet. So here's my sage. And you can see how fast this goes. Does not take long at all to paint these. So there's that. And you do have to paint both sides because they are 3D. And then I'm going to come over here and grab that teal color. And I'm just kind of going around. And then I'm going to blend it out. Just kind of gives like a nice kind of ombre color, like an effect. And you're not going to do like the whole thing. You're just going to do parts here and there. So you'll have some of the sage here and there. And then some of the darker areas. And if you want to go back and add more of that sage, if you think you added too much of the teal, go back and then blend it while it's still wet. So that's all there is to doing these. Super fun. It's a fun way to create kind of like an ombre. And if you want to do it, like, you could start for the top and then work your way around. I just thought it'd be kind of fun to do more like an all around, like here and there. But if you want to start at the top with the light and then work your way to the dark, or you can do it the other way. I just think it's a lot of fun to play around with different colors while they're still wet. And I just think this is a fun file to do it with. I had a lot of fun making this one. And this one has stands. So I'm gonna let that one dry. So this one's dry, so I'm gonna flip it over. So I did not use my my standoffs. I should have, because the back got a little burnt. So I'm gonna grab more of my green paint down here. Alright, I'm just gonna keep working through here and be generous with that paint. Not too generous though, because you don't want to get it all in the spaces. And I'm just tapping just to get a nice good coat on there. There we are. There we go. And this would have been a time to use my standoffs, so I didn't have burn marks or scorch marks on my back. But I knew I was going to paint, so I didn't feel like it needed it this time. I use those when I know I'm going to have a back that is going to show and I don't want to have to paint it. Alright. Okay, so now that I got that, I'm going to just let it come in and tap that blue just here and there, just for like a fun ombre. There we go. Just so it's not all one color, I just feel like it'd be more fun if it had more than one shade. It just looks fun. You can spray paint these too. That would be another way to finish this. Spray painting is much faster. Alright, so there's all I'm going to do with that one. Okay, and then this one is already dry, so pretty much I'm going to flip that over. I'm going to definitely have some nice scorch marks on the back. So I'm gonna go ahead and just dab, dab, dab. There we go. And there really is no rhyme or reason, just however you wanna do it. I just really like these shamrocks. I think they're my favorite of all the 3D that I've done. I really like these ones a lot. And they're just something different because I usually don't do stands a lot with my 3D, except for the hearts, because there's really no way to do the hearts without putting a stand on them. So I just thought these would be a much different way. I've never seen the shamrocks with stands on them, so for the 3D. So something new. Alright. There we go. And I want to make sure I get that little tab. Make sure I get that good. The tab, the little slot on the stand is slightly smaller than the slot here because I want that to be nice and tight when you go to put that in your stand. You feel free to adjust that as necessary on the stands. I did make them slightly more narrow just so that it would be really, it would be nice and tight depending on your material. But make sure you always measure your material, especially when you're doing 3D files. You have to measure material because your material may not measure exactly 1/8. It might be sold as 1/8, but it may not measure 1/8. They can sell 1/8 material anywhere from like 0.10 all the way to like 0.17. So it can really range. So make sure that you always measure before you cut. I get a lot of complaints saying this didn't fit, and then they go to measure it and it's like 0.164, and then I say, yep, it's not close to 1/8. Gotta measure. And people get really mad at me. I'm like, well, I can't make it to that size because then when somebody actually buys 1/8 material, it won't fit together. So I have to make it to the standard 1/8. So I'm sorry for anybody who gets upset, but I have to make it to the standard. So just make sure that you're measuring your material or try to buy it as close as you can. I always recommend MDF because it measures pretty close to a true 1/8. Okay, so there's that. And then if you look at the sides, you do not want your sides to look like that. So that's when I come in and just paint those edges. Using chalk paint really helps because you can get that in one coat. And I know with the char on the sides, it's usually paint resistant. With chalk paint, it's not. It really, the chalk paint just jumps right on there. Just drinks that right up. So, all right, so there's that. So just make sure that you're getting those edges when you're doing the 3Ds because you are gonna see those sides. So just make sure that you paint those really good. So I always like to make sure I get those edges. All right, careful when doing the slot because if the paint is, just get that. If the paint gets in the slot, it may make it harder to slide the pieces in and out. So just be mindful when you get the paint too close to that slot. There we go. So be also mindful that when you do those edges, you're not messing up your ombre paint. Because you can see that I'm getting it on there, so just make sure that you also blend it back out again. So that's all there is to doing these. So make sure you get those sides really good. All right. Alrighty. There we go. I'm getting green paint all over me, but this stuff washes off pretty well. All right. There we go. So there's my shamrock. Looks pretty good. So I'm gonna do the same thing on all of these shamrocks. And if you want, you can go back and then add a little bit of the blue, and you can do that again, add a little bit more of that, and kind of blend it while you have that out. It's totally how you want to do it. I'm just gonna have a little bit more fun while I have my brush out. I just think it's a lot of fun. I love experimenting with different ways to paint. So there we are. Just add a little bit of color to that so it's not all the same. You put a little bit on the stem, and then you can do the same thing on the other side. There we go. Making sure that it's all nice and blended. There we go. I really like that. Okay, well, thanks a lot for joining me. I'm really happy with that. And then these just slide together like that. And they slide together pretty easily as long as you measure your materials. They slide in and out really, really easily. So this is done with MDF. You can get this at like GS2 Awards, Craft Closet, lots of places to get your MDF. So as you can see, they slide in and out very, very easily. So I got my wet paint on there, but you can see how easy they slide in and out. All right, and then these go right into a stand. All right, well, thanks a lot, and I will get these listed shortly. All right, thanks for joining me. Bye.